So this is a special clip separate from the podcast. Joe and I just went and saw Shang-Chi yesterday, and it was incredible. We went with a group of people, and obviously we knew some about it, but we didn't look at any spoilers. I saw some leaks that were potential, which did not get spoiled, so that was nice. Yeah, so we had a few categories that we were going to break down the movie by. Just flat off the cuff, just for the people that want to know a rating immediately, I give it a 9 to 9.5 out of 10.
Yep, the first number when I was on the ride home, the first number that came into my head was 9. So it's hard to give a movie a 10. However, I think Infinity War was probably the closest for me.
For me, a personal movie that I can think of that I would give a 10 would be Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King.
Okay.
That's just for me. And then I honestly, if I were to give another 9, a movie that I would compare to that I would give it a similar rating, classic would be Back to the Future. And a more recent one, it's kind of hard for me to imagine a more recent movie, maybe Black Panther.
Right. Okay. So in via origin stories, Shang-Chi was up there. It's got to be up there.
So I don't know if I'm biased or what, but I feel like I might be overreacting. This is maybe my favorite Marvel movie yet.
Okay. Yeah, I think Infinity War always has a special place in my heart because I love cliffhangers.
Right.
I love cliffhangers. And so
you must love What If.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do like What If. Yeah, in regards to origin stories, a lot of people are saying that it's up there with the first Iron Man. Yeah. Which is kind of like the OG.
I think it's better than Iron Man.
I think it is too, just because how advanced Marvel's came since that point.
It has an advantage in both experience and technology, obviously, but I think it's better.
Yeah. I think in regards to origin stories, it beats it's probably Shang-Chi and then Black Panther. But Black Panther was an origin story. So,
and I'm not counting Spider-Man or Venom, Sony stuff. It has to just be MCU. I would do Shang-Chi number 1 for me, and then Black Panther is probably number 2 for me.
Yeah. Any other origin story, and then probably Captain Marvel there down at the bottom.
Yeah, we were talking Phase 4 movies and shows.
Yeah, Phase 4 projects.
Phase 4 projects. We ranked, and we had the same ranking.
Yeah,
I think, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I think the only difference was our 2. I kind of split into 2.
Okay. You had a 2A, 2B.
Yeah.
So for those, I said this was the best Phase 4. Obviously, if I think it's my favorite Marvel movie, it's going to be my number 1. I think it was the best Phase 4 project. Then Loki, then WandaVision.
Yep.
And then What If, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yep.
And then Black Widow.
Yep. Same here.
And Joe, he had a split.
I had WandaVision and Loki tied. I think we went 2 years. Almost. And then again, 2 years.
You say you love cliffhangers. So WandaVision, I feel like, had a much bigger cliffhanger than Loki, even though Loki did have a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah, they both had cliffhangers.
Wanda's opens up to more.
The whole thing that we are going through right now is the multiverse is based off reality and time.
Mm-hmm.
And so in WandaVision, you get the cliffhanger in regards to reality, and in Loki, you get the cliffhanger in regards to time. So you get both of them. And then the differences between reality and time smacked together is your multiverse.
Otherwise, the rankings were pretty much the same. I'm a huge fan of combat movies. When I was a kid, I loved a lot of Jackie Chan stuff. The Jackie Chan Adventures cartoon show that he had, I actually own the whole thing on DVD. I'm a huge fan of Jackie Chan, and I even like some of the spoof kung fu movies. They're kind of fun, like Kung Pao and
Kung Pao. Yeah.
And just that sort of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, those sorts of combat styles. I feel like this movie, Shang-Chi, was exactly what I've always wanted from that combat style.
Absolutely.
It was so cool. The fight choreography, easily the best combat and action scenes that I've seen in a Marvel movie.
Yeah. At one point, there was very few instances throughout the thing where the combat was a little hard to keep track of, but I also am half blind, and there was the light from the
projector was right behind us.
Yeah. So I was I could see it, but at the same time, like if it was pitch black around me, I would have been able to see better.
I kept thinking that our movie theater was like really bright, but then I realized that the projectors
are
right in front
behind
of the projector.
So it was kind of difficult to follow some of the scenes, but I also thought that it was just great.
So good.
I have so we can go right into the go into a point. One of the points, directing was the first one. So obviously, Kevin Feige has a say when it comes to the how the movie's going to turn out.
But he's not the actual like director.
But he's not the director. Like, so it was great. Obviously, start to finish. There, I saw a lot of people complaining about in regards to Shang-Chi's backstory. They would have liked to see a little bit of that mission that he went on. So we didn't get to see any of that little bit.
But yeah, it was so the actual director was Destin Daniel Cretton, and I thought it was really well done. I think so. Like the director has the say in direction of the movie, and where it's going to go. And I think overall, if you want whatever direction you want to take it from, like if you want to take it from I talked about this in a tweet immediately, was feminist direction. All of the women that were in that movie were presented like really powerfully and like without it being kind of like, I know a lot of people had the issue with the A-Force because it was seemed forced.
Yeah, totally
like
was
shoved
forced
in your face. This wasn't forced at all. It was actually like really cool. If you want to take it from like an Asian history standpoint, the Foo Dogs were like an accurate
the Foo Dogs. There was in the comics, Shang-Chi's father is actually Genghis Khan, and so but they didn't want to do what Genghis Khan did
exactly
kind of thing. So when Wu was talking about his past, he's like, I've been called many names, whatever, Mandarin, he said Master Khan. So I think that was kind of like they
called me Genghis Khan. That was his little touch on that.
Yeah, he said Master Khan. So he stayed away
most
from that.
Dangerous man in the world was one of his names.
Yeah.
Which that actor, this was his first time he was in Hollywood, first movie he's ever done in Hollywood.
Really?
Yeah, every other thing he's done is Hong Kong space cinema.
Cool.
So if you guys haven't seen that, that's his name. I don't want to insult him by not including him. Tony Choi Long. I hope I pronounced that correct, but Tony Long, he did an amazing job. That Mandarin was like, you kind of felt for him, which I think was the goal. They didn't want you to hate him. So, and he wasn't really the true villain or evil. He was dark.
Yeah. So, I mean, he gave it up. He gave up his thirst for power when he found love. Yeah. And then when that love was taken from him, he fell back into his ways, which in turn, I'm not going to spoil the movie, but
really good. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then like back to the Asian thing, the stereotypes that they did project were not characterized. Like they were represented respectfully, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, like when Wu asked Katie what your Chinese name was, and she responded, he's like, that you like, I forget what the exact quote was, but he was like, that's, you never forget that, or that's
he
never...
says like everything is in a name, something along those lines. Yeah, it was. I think that was great. And then the Foo Dogs weren't like a characterized representation. The dragon was not a European style dragon. It was an Asian style dragon.
Yeah. Speaking of the dragon, the dragon looked fantastic.
I thought the dragon was
sick. Looked so good. Which very much excites me for Fin Fang Foom, hypothetically, or
should get
Xiao Lao, any of these dragons. So
and we saw the Great Protector in the trailer, but out of the water, when the Great Protector comes out of the water, the color of the scales are amazing.
Yeah, it all looks good.
But yeah, I think that is good for direction, like our direction point. But
sure. Next was acting.
Acting was awesome. There was one scene I can think of that I thought was really bad. Otherwise, Simu Liu, Awkwafina, everyone involved did a great job just entirely. It was Awkwafina and Xialing. It was when Katie and Xialing stood outside, and then they're supposed to like look up at like what is happening, and they go, oh no. It was just, that was the one thing I watched it, and I was like, okay. Like I even looked at the guy to my left, Mike, and I was like, like
Yeah.
everything else. Like it was the only thing that I didn't like. But
There was
it's
another
situations like that are hard to act, so I get it.
right, right. The one super predictable point was where let's see, it was in regards to Razor Fist and the rest of Wenwu's people. When something happens to one of Wenwu's people, and that causes Razor Fist to have a reaction, and that reaction was super predictable. Where he's like, "We need your help," and then it's like, "We need to help." Yeah, it's not like that. That part was super predictable. I saw that
waiting for
coming.
the comment. I was waiting for him to say it, and then just you said that people were hoping to see more of that mission from him.
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to know more is how did Razor Fist join the Ten Rings?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I want to know, because he doesn't fit. Like, he's the only white guy. He outside of, we don't know who's under the mask of that one dude, but
yeah, he was not Russian, but they said some country,
right.
Romanian,
so it's like
Romanian or something.
He doesn't fit in, and so because he's so different, I'd like to know how like, obviously he probably on just one of the Ten Rings mission joined them. Like, the Mandarin probably saw that he had potential and took him in, but he's also supposed to be a mutant, so that's the one thing I want to know. I could care less about the mission. The mission we heard enough about. Seeing it would just have extended the movie. I think the directors cut it because they knew it doesn't add to the story.
Right.
So if anything, it just opens up a chance for that teenage actor to fail, as opposed to he did a great job as what he did.
Yeah, what he had to do.
Doing what they put him in, like, that just opens up another chance for him to not do well when he did a great job. So I'm all good with not having the mission.
Okay.
And I hope I haven't spoiled anything, because I am also trying to do spoilers.
Next up is plot.
Plot's going to be hard to say without spoilers.
Yeah.
But the plot was
if it is Marvel's take on a kung fu movie, it's very original. Very original. It's
and originality is one of the other things too.
Yeah. So it's super original plot. I loved it. Yeah, I love the beginning right away.
And the changes they made, like with him not being Genghis Khan's son.
Yep.
That's good.
They have super original story in regards to the Mandarin.
And the different creatures that we see outside of the food dog.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and then we all know Trevor Slattery's in it. His character added to the plot. Actually, I thought he was going to kind of be a little joke character. If anything, he was just comic relief, but he actually took a large part in the plot, which I like.
Yeah.
Overall, the plot was really good. I thought that I was worried when about half hour into the movie, I thought it was going to drag. I was really worried that the plot was going to start dragging because they hadn't gotten to where I wanted them to get to. But that could just be impatience. I didn't want the last 30 minutes of the movie was, I think, what a lot of people would expect the whole movie to be like.
Yeah, and the beginning, there's a couple fight scenes throughout, but the beginning fight scene, you've seen it in the trailer, the bus fight.
Yeah.
Is awesome.
That was so cool.
Bus fight is so cool.
Well, especially because it's like a shock to the audience, because like at that point you're not sure like what does Shang-Chi know at this point. So I think that's a fun reveal to the audience.
Yeah,
like, for me, I was like, ooh, okay.
My favorite part was like his coat thing, and I think you saw it too. Like while he was fighting, he had his coat, and then he was like wrapping it up, and then like he slipped it back on like mid fight.
Yep.
That was sick. I was like, oh, like I got a reaction just from that little fight. Like,
and I also want to throw this out before I forget. Before in our podcast, I mentioned that I think Awkwafina is gonna kill it. She killed it.
Yeah, she did really good.
She was funny. Her character had in like really good development. That's another good part of the story wise. It wasn't just Shang-Chi focused. Like I can think of at least 3 other characters where we got to see basically their whole story either start or complete. So like we got to see Katie,
some open-ended things too.
Yeah, we got to see a lot. And so I really like that in terms of plot. And then we had a nice mixture of kung fu movie plot, not a ton of romance, which I like. It was like the romance wasn't really evolved around Shang-Chi, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And then we got a nice little like human side of him, like the more personable, how we could relate to him, and then the whole superhero side to him.
Yeah, you definitely feel the Marvel movie aspect towards probably the last third of the movie. you're like, all right, this is a Marvel movie right here. Like,
I think for when we talk, if we do talk about Shang-Chi at all in the podcast, that will probably have spoilers in it.
Yeah. Okay.
And the 10 rings themselves were also
they
changed
actually,
the 10 rings themselves too.
the
way
next thing
different.
is cinematography.
The cinematography was
this is probably the best for me out of all the things: directing, acting, plot, and cinematography. The cinematography was probably my favorite aspect of this movie.
The lighting aspect, they had like a cooler lighting in terms of when certain characters were on versus a more natural lighting when other certain characters were on. I don't want to spoil which ones, but they had like lighting changes. I don't think sound and like music is part of cinematography, but I do want to talk about the music.
Yeah, sure.
But the cinematography, the action scenes, for me, it wasn't super confusing. But the different abilities that were used, the 10 rings themselves, and then the changes to the 10 rings compared to the comics. In the comics, they were actually finger rings. Like,
it was 100% the right choice to change those.
Armbands were sick.
Yeah.
The overall, and then we mentioned the dragon, the looks, and like just everything in general, the cinematography overall, the way the forest moved when they show that, which that's at the beginning and the end of the movie, so that's not spoiling anything. The city scenes were not confusing, especially like that bus scene. I was worried that it was going to get too hectic. Similar to like Venom, the chase scenes got a little hectic. On.
Yeah. Venom's okay, the ending scene in Venom, it was like black goo slapping gray goo,
right? So like you look at some other scenes, or even Tron, like Tron's another movie, like had some confusing chase scene. This movie, like the city scenes, the forest scenes, the mystical like place scene, or the village scene, I should say, the village scene, all of them had like really good cinematography. The fight club that we get to see from like that little 1 minute clip where that part of the movie has awesome shots. Like nothing's ever confusing. There's nothing. For those of you that saw the podcast and I talked about, I think there was going to be an X-Men spoiler in there. They basically didn't show anybody fighting in there besides the dude that we thought might have the extremist.
Yeah.
So
when
like,
you see the 1 minute
anything.
Yeah, when you see the 1 minute clip, you see a lot of it.
Yeah. So
what's there?
No, I didn't see any mutants. I looked hard. I was focusing. I even like leaned forward and I was like, all right, I gotta look. Like I wanted to, but the cinematography, 10 out of 10, 100%.
Yeah.
If I were to pick one thing that this movie excelled the most at, that's it.
Yep.
And
I agree. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Bring on the soundtrack.
So the soundtrack, I saw that at the premiere, it was already submitted for best soundtrack, the movie is, and I was like, all right, that's setting my expectations high. And then I caught myself a couple times in the movie.
Yeah. No, whenever they go into like club scenes and there's like some kind of rap music, whether it was like,
well, even the fight scenes, like the score, not just like a soundtrack song, like the score was so good.
Yeah.
Like, it gets you, like you feel every emotion. Like whoever ran the sound of that movie should get some more jobs.
Yeah, that's arguably let's see, like the last time, I know for sure the last time that Marvel was up for like soundtrack was the Black Panther soundtrack, which was amazing in itself.
Also good.
Kendrick
and that overall.
Yeah, Kendrick and SZA did that one. So
yeah, so this is like, so far, Shang-Chi probably had my favorite soundtrack, my favorite cinematography, my favorite fight choreography. Probably not my favorite acting, but it's up there for my favorite acting.
Yeah.
And up there, top 3 for my favorite plots, which is why I would say it averaged out to like 9 to 9.5 for me, because everything else was such a 10.
This is, and I hate to say this, I liked Black Widow, but if they would have opened with Shang-Chi, it would have been,
if Black Widow came out when it was supposed to come out, and then Shang-Chi came out when it was supposed to come out, it would have been unbelievable. Yep, it would have been amazing. It would have been like a build-up, as opposed to Black Widow having like an unnecessary build-up with a failure to deliver.
Black Widow was just in, like, we both have Black Widow very low on our list.
Yeah,
but Black Widow is basically just we're doing this story to introduce Yelena Belova to everyone, and then
to bring back Valerie Contessa.
Yeah, and Shang-Chi was like, this guy's gonna be our future for years to come. So
Marvel confirmed you need to refer to him as an Avenger. He is an official new Avenger. and
I saw that
blanking
Avenger
on.
news.
Yeah.
How they had him in the spotlight. It's like meet the newest Avenger or something like that. So
Yeah.
So this is just some smaller things. Depth of thinking. How much did this movie make you think? I guess that's how I interpret it.
I think this movie, like a lot of modern movies, kind of lays out the whole thing for you. I think modern audiences don't like to think too much.
Yeah.
So it kind of laid out everything for you. And
I think when it comes to Marvel fans or Marvel movies, it's tough to say this, this movie critic, what movie critics use, because we do most of our thinking after we see the movie.
mm-hmm.
That's when our brain starts twirling and we're like, all right, well, Wong was in the movie. So
right. And that's less of depth of thinking. That's more like theory crafting, because depth of thinking, I would assume, would be in the movie itself.
Yeah.
Like, were you thinking about statements that were being said? Did they say any quotes that really struck you? Did anything make you think about what could, like, was there any foreshadowing at the beginning that you might think about happen at the end? Which the foreshadowing that happens is more of just like in your face. It's not like hidden foreshadowing. So for me, depth of thinking wouldn't rank super high, but for me, it wouldn't rank high for most modern movies, just because I don't think modern audiences, like I said, they don't like to think. I remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
A lot of people agree with us because Shang-Chi has broken the record for Labor Day weekend box office, and it's not even the end of the weekend yet.
Exactly. I saw that. that. Yeah, the previous record was around 30 million by Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween.
Yep.
In 2007, I think I said that. So, yeah. So doubled that, shattered that.
Yep, 78 million is what it's at right now.
Yeah. So good for Simu Liu and everyone.
Everyone involved deserve it. Holy cow. It's so, I can't stress enough how good that.
I told Taylor that as soon as it comes out on Disney Plus again, I'm gonna watch it again. So,
yeah, I'm probably gonna watch it and then do some pausing like I do with like What If, try to catch some background stuff, even though most of the analytical people are probably already have videos out now about it.
Right. Yeah. So looks like the next topic is emotional impact.
Emotional impact, I thought it was really good, just because you felt for the villain, you felt for the main character, you felt for side characters,
you felt for a mystical creature,
you felt for just like as a family, you felt for them as a family, you felt for the
main antagonist. So
something like you felt for the villain. Like you would get to meet Aquafina's family. That's not really a spoiler. You feel for her family, at least in a little bit of a way.
Yeah.
I think overall I felt stuff the whole movie. So
yeah.
I don't really know what else to say. It was like from an emotional standpoint, you feel for every character involved on a full depth of emotion. There's a couple characters where I feel like I don't feel for at all, like Razor Fist.
Yeah.
And that's where I think if you wanted to increase the depth of emotion felt on him, that's when you tell me how he joined the Ten Rings.
Sure. And then to compare it with the other movie, Phase 4 movie, Black Widow didn't really have that much emotional impact because you knew Natasha was going to survive. So it's not
the little bit of disadvantage that it has of having a character that we already know so much about.
All right. Next one
you really feel for Yelena the most in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, it was a way to just bring Black Widow was like, here's our new character we're giving you guys. So they want you. Yeah. They want you to have all the emotions for Yelena because that's the person going forward. So next thing is authenticity in relation to what is being depicted. So I think this is like the touch on the cultural aspect of Shang-Chi. So
we definitely mentioned that. We talked about how it's accurately and respectfully represented rather than being a caricature of what people that have misinformation about the culture would expect. I would say that it was incredibly accurate. I obviously am not from Asian heritage, so I obviously can't say with 100% accuracy, but I mean, it was Asian directed, primarily Asian cast.
It's and another thing that some people were upset with, and it's not really a spoiler or anything, is there's a lot of I assume it's Mandarin that's being spoken. I mean, they weren't just going to bring in, like, it's a cultural movie, heritage. It's about culture, heritage.
Yeah.
And they're not just going, the characters aren't just going to all know English.
Right. And like
So
there's a point where they speak Korean. So they speak Korean, they speak Mandarin, I think they spoke in 3 separate Asian dialects throughout I think I think it was 3 separate Asian dialects throughout the whole movie.
and so there's a lot of that that is spoken. So
Yeah.
in regards to authenticity, like, I don't think they're faking, like, you know what I mean? So
right, there was no like pan flute music that you hear in like a traditionally American made kung fu movie.
yeah,
The foo dogs weren't bright and colorful with like fang teeth showing over here. The dragon wasn't like with a foo dog face like a lot of American dragons show. So I don't know. I thought, and it wasn't green. Like, I don't know. I thought they did a really good job. So
sure.
I don't want to say too much because 2 white dudes.
All right, wit or cleverness of the writing.
Okay, that was good. Primarily because of Awkwafina and Simu Liu. Like their chemistry throughout the whole movie like was clearly really well done. Wong, which that's not a spoiler, you saw Wong in one of the clips, so like Wong, when he's there, he's funny for his little bit. The side characters, like I don't know how to say their names.
Lang.
Yeah, like, well, I don't know how to say their names without spoiling. I think it's like, I don't know, their mom. Like that actor.
They have a mom. Yep,
yeah,
that's how
their actor did a really good job of like being humorous. Even the Mandarin himself like had a couple points where the wittiness of his writing, even if it wasn't funny, it was clever and witty.
Right.
So everything except Razorfist's dialogue. I feel like I'm picking on him, but Razorfist was 100% without the lack of story, the level of acting.
Yeah, he didn't really
the lines that he was given.
Yeah,
he was like, and then like he was the only non-witty character to me.
Yeah,
Wang Bo was funny.
Yep.
So.
Death Dealer didn't talk at all.
Dealer did not talk.
So I think when it comes to wit and cleverness, Awkwafina provided a lot of that.
Stole the show
too.
there.
Yeah. All right, and then the next one is just originality. The last one.
The most difficult part that I would want to say about originality is you're writing from a character that has already been written. So it's like hard to say that it's original because the idea wasn't original. However, if you were to compare comic book Shang-Chi with the current Shang-Chi, they are completely different characters. The 10 rings are different. They're designed different. The character's background is different. The powers are represented differently. So like in terms of originality, I think they did a really good job. Especially with when you add in the credit scenes. The end credit scene, the second one, frustrated me a little. I don't want to talk about it because of spoilers, but
there's 2 credit scenes.
Yeah, so. the second one is extremely frustrating for me, just because
I don't know.
It involves a character that should have learned a lesson through the movie, and it's like they didn't learn any lesson, so it kind of reverses everything that we saw about that character through the whole movie.
Yeah, and so it's hard to it's hard to see where that's gonna.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to be tied to Shang-Chi anymore. It's got to be like something else.
I hope. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do there. So outside like of that, like that was obviously original, but I didn't like it. Other than that, like the little twist that they gave on the characters, the exposition, the narrative exposition at the beginning was probably like the least original thing, but the story itself was really good.
Right.
And like in terms of fight choreography, like the originality of everything else was really well done. So it's hard to judge something that's written based on something else as original.
Right.
With how much they changed the character and the story, I would give it like that. That's my second lowest score that I would give it. Maybe like an 8.
Yeah, because it's hard. You're right. It's hard to write it's already been written, right? Like it's already. You're pulling from source material and you're tweaking it to get your story, like
from a creative genius like Stan Lee.
Right. Yeah. Like even in say WandaVision, everyone's like, oh, it's gonna be House of M. It's gonna be House of M. It's not gonna be as big scale of House of M, but it's going to be it's taking
House of
inspiration.
M-esque.
Yeah, it's taking inspiration from that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Otherwise, I think it's hard to judge its originality, but where it could be original, it did above average. So
yeah,
probably
yeah.
I can't remember what I said was my lowest, what I would give lowest.
Plot. No, not plot. The depth of thinking.
Depth of emotion, or depth of thinking. Yeah. It was depth of thinking and originality were probably the two lowest ranking. Depth of thinking, maybe a 6, originality, maybe an 8. Everything else is a 9 or 10. So
yeah.
I don't think that's a bad movie. And depth of thinking, again, I'd give that a low score for every modern movie.
Yeah.
And originality, especially based off something like, tell me any live action Disney remake, its originality is going to be a 2 for me.
Yeah.
So
true.
I think they did a good job for having something that was previously written before that was original.
Yeah, and I don't think Shang-Chi's like the most popular character comics wise.
Nope.
Like he's super cool, but then like being brought to life and he's in the forefront is super cool.
Absolutely. Overall, incredible movie. Probably my favorite Marvel movie to date. Could just have recency bias there, and the fact that we weren't able to go see any movies for a long time
for 2 years. Yeah,
I'm in the minority and was not a huge fan of Endgame, and that's like everybody's favorite Marvel movie.
I liked Infinity War better.
I liked Infinity War way better, and I would put Shang-Chi above Infinity War for myself, just because Infinity War spent a ton of money for everybody to be in to get 12 lines because they had too many people in one movie.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't what I wanted. Like Infinity War clearly should have been multiple parts, which they tried to do with Endgame, but like it should have been a 4-part thing if they wanted to do it justice. So because of that, I mean, there's a couple solo movies I'd put above those, and Shang-Chi is one of them.
Sure.
Awesome. And so cool. So I don't know how to sign off here because it's not the podcast, but I hope you all enjoyed this extra video. GG.
GG.